Yo, what's good? Bo, what up?
What's going on?
We are here for Neptune Sunday, episode one of season two, the first episode of the year of our Lord and Savior 2022.
We gotta get some air horns in here. We need something more exciting for the second year.
Right. I can go back and add the gunshots and I have to download some gunshot sound effects. Um, so, just before we get into things, just want to make sure that we check in with each other, check in with ourselves, check in with our listeners, and let you guys know where we're at in life.
A little holistic podcast.
Man, I mean, 2022 is off to interesting start. You know,
Nah, I'm
pandemic,
ready to unsubscribe already. I'm
pandemic is still raging, but yeah. But we're happy to be here. We're happy to be here with each other. Happy to be here with you guys that are listening.
always.
So hopefully, there are some of you listening to this for the first time on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We are now
Hi guys.
big boy podcast streaming outlets. So please subscribe on those on Apple and Spotify. Stick with us on SoundCloud if you like, whatever. We're going to have it all three places, but just want to make sure that everyone knows that.
Tell your friends.
Oh, what's up? What you got? You ready?
Oh man. Yeah, I'm ready to get into it.
All right. So, first episode 2022. We really enjoyed the versus style battle that we did last season. Jay-Z versus Snoop, frequent collaborators. So we're bringing it back for the first episode of 2022 with two people who I think are up there when we're talking about not just the people, not just like talking about people who are frequent collaborators with the Neptunes, but when we talk about big characters in hip hop, these two guys are up there. Multifaceted in a bunch of different ways. Multifaceted entertainers, but just straight, really hip hop New York guys. We're talking about Busta Rhymes and the host of Drink Champs, Nor
Noriega.
Nore, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah, he is now Nori, but he was originally Noriega, for those of you who didn't know.
Oh yeah, why don't you start? You want give us some history. Give us a little background with you, some history on our guy Noriega.
Little history. Noriega's stage name is after Manuel Noriega, who, pardon me.
Oh man, well Noriega, the Philippines.
Right. Yeah, like so like a real life gangsta. Nori was signed in like 95. And he was part of the duo Capone and Noriega. They met in prison. Plot twist. And I think this is kind of a recurring theme. He got popular off of like this really traditional New York boom bap sound. Their first album went really well, but Capone was jailed again in 97. And that left room for, not left room, it kind of forced Nori to have to work for himself, work by himself, and eventually start working with the Neptunes. That's really the long and short of the history. I remember, I feel like I always knew about Nori, but I don't even feel like I don't know where he came from.
Yeah.
He was just always somewhere like in my sphere because of the age that we were at when he came out.
Like I think my first real introduction to Nori and a song that I really liked was NORE, Nori, Seven was on the Run Eating. That was actually on I had the Source Hip Hop Hits Volume 2 compilation CD that was on that had top to bottom bangers on it. Money Ain't a Thing, Lord Tariq and Peter Guns, Uptown Baby. It had Holla If You Hear Me, Wyclef Jean, Gone Till November, DMX. What was the first one? Not Get At Me Dog. And it had money. DMX had like 4 songs on it, which was wild. But it was like that's how crazy he was at that time. He was on Money, Power, Respect. He was on his own song, Get At Me Dog. He was on this jail felony joint, and then he was on L Cool J 4321. DMX was crazy. But back to Nori, like that Nori song was on there, and that was my jam. So little bit of I'm not gonna give too much history on Busta just because I have some notes as I go through my songs. But Flatbush, Brooklyn, where he was born, but he ended up growing up in Long Island. And I think that most people that are into hip hop and know the story of, there being a short time period where him and Big and Jay-Z went to the same high school, hip hop high school, which is dope. His family is from the islands, from Jamaica, so you hear some of that in a lot of the songs that he puts out in general, and a couple of the Neptunes produced songs too, which we'll get into as well. But my favorite, I think Busta became one of my favorite rappers, like probably in middle school. I think I told this story on the podcast before how Extinction Level Event was the first parental advisory CD that I bought with my own money without permission from my parent.
A moment in history.
And like that album just really hit me in the face. I'm just like, this is crazy. And so like I had some friends, and just giving everybody the context of how much of a nerd I really am. I was in middle school, the Technology Student Association at Benford Model Middle School in Richmond, Virginia. And
Wow.
two of my friends they're older than me that were in it, like started calling ourselves the Flip Mode Squad. And
I love it.
shout out to KG, my man Carl. He was Split Star, and I can't remember if Mike was Rampage or if he was Lord Have Mercy, but I was Baby Sham, and just like we would walk around, like it really didn't mean anything, but it just like we all three of us just loved that album so much that we just that yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, Busta Rhymes to me is like one of my favorite rappers of all time, and I really, really, this is very hard when we're going through this verses now because I really like and love a lot of the NORE collaborations with the Neptunes, but Busta's my guy, so we're gonna get into it.
Let's get into it. I'll start off. Actually, this first song I'm going to start off with has a lot of history. I'm going to play it first, and then I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more about it. What? You found Manuel Noriega? Super Thug is our first song. It's the first song that Nori did with the Neptunes. And I feel like it has a really good story, part of which we may have told before, but it's such a good story, I don't mind telling it twice. Like I said, it's their first session together. Like, this is like Pharrell chasing people down with a tape level Pharrell. Like, they had no name. It's in the very beginning, it's 98. And this beat was specifically for Nori. So keep in mind that like the Capone Noriega album had come out. They're on like the top of the charts. They're doing well. And, Nori has said like he listened to the beats that Pharrell gave him and just like hearing them and thinking like, well, number one, this thing is weird, but number two, these beats are really different. And it really cemented Nori as like one of the first Neptune supporters. And like, if you follow Noriega throughout his career, like he turned out to be like a really big advocate for the Neptunes, like pushing him to other artists, like trying to introduce them to like Jay and Nas. And the thing I like the most about this song is that the what is just how Nori used to count himself into a song. So the what, like it sounds intentional, but literally Noriega was like, okay, now we got to think of a chorus, and Pharrell was like, nah, we good. I just think that's such a special moment. It's such a special song. Like I think that no matter if you were alive and sentient during that time, you remember hearing that song. Like the album, the video, it's in like the sands. Nori is rapping in like I don't know what the proper term is, but like a headdress in the sands of like freaking wherever in the Middle East. Like it's really dope. I love that song.
It's a big first song to come out there with. I'm not nervous, but I'm just intrigued to see where the rest of your progression is going.
I had to start with that song because I feel like that sets up the whole history of Nori with the Neptunes. Fun fact I learned today, you may have known this already, Michael Jackson wanted that song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he said on Dream Champs, he was like, I want the beats that you're giving to Nori. I want Super Thug. Like, that's crazy that for Pharrell to feel like Michael Jackson put on, like, what? Like, it seems like, just like we've had the conversation about Prince would have been on Frontin', like, all these what ifs. Like, we should do a Marvel, like, what if show about, like, Neptune's collaborations that didn't happen. Oh my goodness, that'd be crazy.
We have to.
So it's my turn now. Okay. Okay. See if you know this one.
Let me tell you a story, yes.
So that is not a Busta song, but is Q-Tip featuring Busta Rhymes for the Nasty. Like, it's a really dope song Q-Tip put out in 2005. I think it's really underrated. I think a lot of people in our age group will recognize that song. It had placement on NBA Live, the video game in 2006, which is great. Probably one of the last great versions of that game because it took a decline after that and 2K took over. But that's a whole nother conversation. But I think it's important to talk about. I wanted to play that song because of Q-Tip's importance to the story and his relationship with both of those guys, like in terms of Pharrell and Busta. Like Pharrell always talks about how much he loves Q-Tip and how much he was inspired by Tribe Called Quest in the 90s. How songs like Bonita Applebum and Footprints like really made him fall in love with this part of it, this process, the making of the music. And, Pharrell did a remix of Bonita Applebum on the 25th anniversary of that Tribe album, The People's Instinctive Travels and Passing of Rhyme. I think it's a long title. I don't want to mess it up. But then in terms of Busta, like Q-Tip and Tribe is like really how Busta blew up when they, had Leaders of the New School was on Scenario, which is like an amazing song, a crazy posse cut from that time, from that era where Busta really shines. And like they go back and forth a little bit, which is like really, I think, gave him his moment and he ran with it. And of course, like that jumped off to a bunch of things for Busta in the early 90s. Like then you get Flavor in Your Ear, then you get like he ended up doing starting his acting being in John Singleton's Higher Learning. So the relationship with Q-Tip, it'll come up again in this conversation, but I think that was a really dope moment to see them connect on a Neptunes beat, considering how much Q-Tip means to both Busta and Pharrell.
That's really special, and I think that like I don't want it to be lost how important Busta is to the history of hip hop, because I feel like now he's like the guy you see on Masked Singer, right? To like some of the young kids, and it's like
on that?
Yeah, he was.
He was one of the people in the mask.
Yeah, he got eliminated the first episode of that season. I'm really into Masked Singer, guys. I don't want to talk about it. It's kind of embarrassing. But yeah, it's like I don't think that people understand how foundational Busta is to hip hop. When we talk Jamaica, New York, like that's all Busta. That's all the stuff that he represents, and he was this huge guy in the 90s. So I really appreciate him. I appreciate his work with the Neptunes. I'm gonna move on to my next song.
Excuse me, let me get by. You're only on the floor if you were true.
I honestly wish I could see Vaughn's face when I play these songs. That's I'm a G. That was released in 2005. Wanted to highlight the song especially because of the video, and I think it makes sense how culturally relevant that NORE was at the time. Like Charlie Murphy's in the video. It's like a play on Dave Chappelle's skits, was like the biggest show at the time. It's something that everybody knows. Like we all knew the jokes. Like I'm not gonna say it so many times this episode because I believe I danced to every song that I'm going to play here. But I'm pretty sure I danced to this one too. It's just a dope song. And is that an accordion in it? I don't know, but
it sounds like it, but it probably is just Pharrell finding some crazy song on the Triton keyboard.
Right. But I mean, it's a special song. I love it.
So, both of us have our DMV roots. Vogue.
Yeah.
You might be in trouble. Have you heard the go-go version of this?
Oh man, I think this is back when I was really messing with go-go like that.
The go-go version is insane. It is insane. And I don't want to mess up. I'm not sure which of the bands did it, but look that up. Also, I think this may be the same band, but there's also a go-go version of Flap Your Wings.
Yo.
Which is also ridiculous. Like 2 Neptune songs turned into go-go, like bangers is just. So yeah, I'm a G is a dope song, but like just hearing that and then hearing the Go-Go version just put my love for that song over the top.
All Go-Go remixes level up the song. So
Yes, see Ashley Simpson, whatever.
that,
I don't even know the name of that song.
take me to church. It is Sunday.
I don't even know the name of that song, but yeah.
Pieces of Me.
Yeah.
There's video footage somewhere of me singing that song.
Man, here we started having a go-go conversation, but yeah.
That's for another day, another podcast.
All right, song number 2 for me. Here we go. So Busta, What It Is, featuring Khalees, that initially was released on the second Violator compilation album. For those of you who don't know Violator, the project's Violator management group that was Mona Scott, who was Def Jam exec, and Chris Lighty, the late Chris Lighty, RIP. Those Violator rosters were very serious. Like both of those albums were crazy. Q-Tip again, LL, Nore's on it. You know, the first album, the lead single, which was the like crazy song, Vibrant Thing from Q-Tip, was wild. And that just kind of like blew everyone's mind. So then this was What It Is with the lead single from the second album. The song was eventually put on the Genesis album from Busta that came out after that. It's funny, in Busta's Drinks Champ episode, he said he shared two really cool nuggets in a Pharrell Neptunes conversation. He said, one, that Grimy and What It Is were being made at the same time in different studio sessions, and they didn't like Busta knew, but I don't think Nori knew that. Like the beats were being made, or I think he said the beats were being made, or maybe the songs were being made at the same time. But I thought that was really cool.
That is cool.
And they also shared a moment where they like laughed at how Pharrell would like put them on pause. Like they would hit Pharrell up to like, hey, we're trying to work, or hey, I'm trying to do something. And Pharrell would tell them, I'm not doing hip hop for like 2 weeks. Like, because he's doing some Britney, Justin, Madonna, whatever. And they both were like, yeah, like they had a moment like, yeah, you told me that before too. And I was like, that's really cool. Like just knowing in that moment, like it's cool that these two that really helped those guys make a name for themselves, realize like, man, Pharrell and them are really doing some crazy stuff right now. And appreciating that, like not being mad, like not being like, that's how you feel, you big timing me now, like just being like, oh no, like dag, well, and understanding and being self-aware to be like, yo, like if they're doing that, like when they come give me something, it's gonna be even bigger because of the buzz of what they did. So I thought that was a cool moment, and just like the way that they laughed at it and shared that, like that commonality of like, yeah, man, or I'll be ducking and dodging me too, man, but it's all good.
I love it. Actually, now that you talk about it, Grimy just narrowly missed my list. I had a really hard time. Grimy was right there, and I was like, I got some other ones that I feel are a little bit more central to the story. But I take your compilation album and raise you a compilation album. I'm not shy about how much I love Clone's album. And I think that very likely is my favorite track. That's the only song on here that I remember the choreography to. So has a special place in my heart. The choreography may exist online. No, I'm not pulling any videos for y'all. But if you search hard enough, you may be able to find it.
Yeah, I think that's an underrated song on Clones. But, you know, I think it's very hard to like really put into words how crazy good the Clones album is. Like, it's like, especially for it to be a compilation album, right? Like, you don't really think of compilations necessarily depending on what is the driver for the beat compiled, right? Like, you know, it's almost like that's why you think about in the same way you think about soundtracks. Like, if soundtracks are just a bunch of songs from the movie that you just throw together, so you have some people on like to help sell or hype the movie, that's not great. Like, that's why those soundtracks in the 90s that were solid, like Soul Food and what's the other one? Waiting to Exhale, like those type of things. So when you talk compilation, like it's got to have some synergy to it. So like that makes sense for them to do one, because it's like, okay, here's a compilation of all these songs that we helped produce and make with our friends.
Yep.
So you're gonna love it, and it's gonna be dope.
If you come off the history of like Violator compilations and stuff like that, that's a natural next move to make in like 2003. That you're like, okay, like we've made a name for ourselves at that point. This makes sense for our careers for us to do. I think that project doesn't get enough shine. I think that people tend to forget that it exists. Right. But to me, that's like really central Neptune's history.
Yeah, for sure. And we talked about this before, how some people thought that Pharrell's album was going to be like clones.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's fair. Like it's like which is weird when you think about it, like if any other producers had done what they did, would they have that same expectation? Like if Kanye had made an album that was like some features of him rapping, but mostly just beats he made for other people, and put it out as like an actual project, like would people say when he made his first album, like, oh, well, that's just gonna be Kanye's beats again? I don't know. But
I mean, I think that's what makes the Neptunes special, because like even though they're making these crazy beats, stuff that people haven't heard before, it still like highlights those artists specifically. Like it's tailored to them. It lets their voice shine. People want to hear from them on Neptune's beats. It's not just like, I mean, in the way that it can be with a lot of producers, like it's not the Pharrell and Chad show.
Right.
And to your point, like Pharrell deserved the opportunity to like, this is my own stuff. This is my voice specifically.
For sure. All right. Song number 3 for me.
Here we come, yo. Here we go.
So that's As I Come Back, also from the Genesis album. The thing, as I was like revisiting these songs and doing a little bit of digging and research on them, I loved how unintentionally there was a lot of synergy in the story that I'm able to tell with these songs, right? So first of all, As I Come Back wasn't a single, but it was played like a snippet of it was played before the video, in the beginning of the video for the single Break Your Neck, which was produced by Dr. Dre, which is crazy. But the dope thing about As I Come Back and what I was saying about the story of these songs being connected is it's a throwback to Scenario. It's a throwback to his Dungeon Dragon rah, and
why?
And the whole hook As I Come Back is from Scenario. So like I thought that was really dope how, we can bring that back to how important Scenario was as a moment in hip hop history, but also like very specifically for launching his career.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that song. I have no further notes. So I have an unexpected song for my penultimate.
I like the way that he falls.
She like the way I do it, man.
Okay.
Embarrassed to say, I hadn't heard that song before today, but it is like I loved it because like it's such. I want to say like I feel like NORE gave the Neptunes the most space to be like their classic selves. Like all of the classic beats I think about with them are NORE songs. The beat transitions, the sounds, it's very layered. And also like around like 2006, like Noriega is half Puerto Rican. He gets into like, he starts moving towards Latin music, which was like, is having a moment in the early 2000s, really popular on the charts. Like you got Mas Maiz, you got Hoy Mi Canto, songs I loved because I was like fake Dominican at the time. And like, that's dope. He was representing his people and all that, but like, there is still the space for him to work with and collaborate with the Neptunes. So this is like 5 years after that he goes back and works with them. There's another song that I hadn't heard because like, I just like at a certain point, NORE transitioned from a rapper to like a personality for me. But like, there was a song in 2017. It's not strong. I'm not gonna lie to you, but it's a NORE and Neptune song that I'll play for you guys sometime. But like, I was happy to see that like the collaboration continued over the life of NORE rapping.
Yeah, I know. We'll talk about. I don't know where your last song is, even though I think I know where your last song is. But we'll talk about some.
You have to know.
But yeah, I think there's a couple songs that came out at that time that were like, it's just like everyone goes through that process where you're starting to be an older rapper and like you got to figure out what to do, or you're either gonna go get the new hot guy or you're gonna go get this person that you have history with that like that you may hits with before to try to recreate some magic. And I think that's, that definitely has happened a couple times with Nori. And like obviously they didn't have a huge success with some of those more recent collabs, but people like us are still gonna love it because it's Nori and because it's Pharrell and Neptunes, and it's just like
We're always excited to hear them together, no matter what.
I think there's just like a level of in our fandom of the Neptunes, there's a level of you throw it on, if it comes on the shuffle, like depending on your mood, you're not gonna skip it, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm just gonna let it rock, depending on what the vibe is. Like I got, like hopefully you guys who are listening have read the description of the podcast. Like there literally is a playlist on my phone that has 800 songs on it. That's just all Pharrell and Neptune stuff. So, sometimes letting that whole thing rock, you're going to get some songs that are not the best, but you still like them anyway. You let them rock.
Yeah.
Or your songs like that I've actually never heard before.
Right.
All right, next song for me, song number 4.
Jackets. What's your name, baby? Word.
That song makes me emotional.
Wow, why does it make you emotional?
It's so good.
Yeah, Light Your Ass on Fire, Clones. I mean, there's a lot of really good songs on Clones. I think this is very strong. When you think about the progression of that album,
Yeah.
right? When you go from this insane intro that's less than a minute, that is like the craziest beat with no rhyming or singing or anything on it. And then the next thing is you hear the intro to Light Your Ass on Fire. It's like these dudes really try to take us out of space, like in the first 2 moments of the album, which is like crazy. And so I think, Light Your Ass on Fire, in addition to it being one of the best songs on Clones, it was another crazy Busta Rhymes music video, which I think is a huge part of the story when we talk about Busta as an artist in this space, is having these ideas, working with these different directors. I think a lot of them are Hype Williams, but just in general, having these crazy visuals to bring these crazy songs that have his crazy energy to life. I think that's a big part of his legacy, which makes him so special in the hip hop space.
Absolutely. It's just so, I can't think of another word besides wonderful to see him like aligning himself with like the most innovative people in both spheres of like video and sound. And I think again, that's what makes Busta special.
All right. Your last song.
Right. Time for my last song. I'm just gonna say one thing. NEPTUNES.
Come on, man.
Crazy song. If you're talking about songs that shaped your taste in music, this is number 1 for me. The sparkling background, all of that. And, when I was like refreshing myself on the history of this song, like this is one of the songs that Nori tells a story about. He was on Rap City in 99, and Big Tigger, if you remember Big Tigger, pulls him to the side and is like, I don't know if you should work with these guys. All their songs sound the same.
Right.
And it's just, it's just wild to think about like 20 years later, like why would anyone say that, right? The audacity, but
the audacity.
The audacity. It's a really big part of their legacy. The reason why I like that line so much, the NEPTUNES, Neptunes hit the beats like one of the best, because like at that time, like we said numerous times of this episode, like they didn't have a name, they didn't have the notoriety, like they're getting shopped around off their own merits, off people like hearsay. You respect somebody else in the game who's working with them, you're like, all right, I'll give it a chance. But a lot of the dudes weren't seeing it for them. So Nori putting himself out there and being like, nah, these are my guys early on. Like this is 1 year after Super Thug.
Right.
He could have been wrong. He would have looked crazy if he was, but like he gave them that stamp and said, go forth. So I love this song. Yes, I danced to this song. Just my favorite of all time.
Yeah, it's like him saying that NEPTUNES thing in Super Thug and then bringing it back. I think he talked about it on one of either the Dream Champs with Pharrell or another one where he was like basically trying to make another Super Thug, and they were pretty close, pretty successful. And
yeah,
the other part about it too, and my god brother DJ RNS, who was on my Friends episode talked about how, for that same reason, that the hook, there's two different hooks. There's two different versions that have two different hooks. Like there's one version that has a hook where Pharrell is like, I told y'all niggas, all of y'all niggas, don't be contemplating my figures. But then there's another version where it's just the, oh no, oh, because they were trying to recreate the what feel. But yeah, man, I mean, I think to have like, you know, Nori was hot too back, like DMX was crushing everybody at that time, but like everybody, it was like that time in 98, 97, 98, 99, like the people that were out were all crazy. It all did crazy numbers, but it's just like DMX's numbers were so big. It's like you almost don't realize like at that time these other guys who were just killing it. Jay was going hard then, Nori was going hard, you know, even like some of the other Def Jam guys were just crushing it. But
yeah. You know, I mean, in another what if moment, I do think if there was no DMX in the picture, Noriega very easily could have taken up the space that he ended up cultivating for himself. You know what I mean? Like they have the same, a very similar persona. I won't say the same, but like very easily could have been the same level guy had not been for DMX. So
yeah, that's a good point. Like just being grimy New Yorker and having the energy. DMX was just a different beast.
yeah.
All right. My last song is pretty predictable, but let's get into it.
Don't this shit make a nigga wanna don't this shit...
Come on, Diddy Part 2.
There's so many things that I love about this song as a moment in hip hop history, Neptunes collaboration history, in my life. I just love it. I love so many things about it. And I'm about to tell you guys all about them. So first of all, Pastor Cavassier, the original version, is cool, but it wasn't a smash in your face record like this was. And it's, you know, important to note the original version is produced by another producer, Knots, who's from Norfolk, who's done a ton of stuff that people don't realize he's done. Like he's done a lot of Rockefeller stuff. Like Knots is legit. Go look up Knots for all you guys listening if you're not familiar with Knots.
Yeah, you can see the look of like non-recognition.
He's done like a lot. He's done a bunch of. I don't want to say something wrong, but there's like some like I think there might be a Blueprint track or two that he did. Like maybe I know he's done some stuff for Beans, but yeah, definitely. You know, Virginia. I could go on a whole nother rant about Virginia, and like everyone knows Pharrell and Chad and Missy and Timbaland, but it's Knots and Bink and, you know, Mad Skills and so many other people. But back to this Pastor Cavassier remix. So let's talk about the music video, right?
Yes.
The music, again, Busta having a crazy music video. It starts off with him and Rod Digga going back and forth, you know, on another song that's on the album. And then it turns into this Harlem Nights recreation. Then it turns into, you know, this Rush Hour 2 recreation with Jamie Foxx. And it's got, I mean, the Harlem Nights parts has Monique in it. And, you know, the scenes in the bar have Mr. T in it, and they're looking at his chains. And, like, the video is just crazy. And, you know, that was Pharrell being Pharrell too. Low key, but still falsetto, harmonizing, being just the nerdy. But I'm actually like talking to all these girls like I'm not a nerd because they think I'm cool. And same energy from Shake Your Ass music video on the Mystical joint. So yeah, the video is crazy, and I think it's important to talk about, you know, the way that Cavassier, the brand, not only benefited but leaned into it. It's not unheard of for brands to pay to be featured in songs as a way of, you know, it's a form of influencer marketing, right? Like
all those Nouveau videos.
Yeah, but at this time, it wasn't as big as it is, but it is as big as it is now because of Pastor Cavassier, because
Absolutely.
Everyone, like they were trying to make this transition from being this stuck-up old white guy, country club liquor, to trying to touch in urban markets, and they were in black magazines, and then this song comes out, and they're like, oh shit. You know, they didn't pay for it, but like they did, apparently they did like throw some big parties for Busta after like some of his concerts, like really leading into the moment. So, you know, that's a blueprint of how it's the opposite of what Cristal did. which was not smart at all because I don't think anyone even drinks Cristal anymore. But yeah, man. So then the other moments about the song that I love, just the energy of the song when you hear it, it's in your face. It's very much Busta Rhymes, very much like in that time of 2000, 2003, 2004, you play that and the place is like is going nuts.
Yeah.
And then I think one of my favorite underrated moments related to the song is I want to say MTV VMAs in I guess the maybe summer of 2000 or like August 2002, right? Diddy's got this crazy performance where he does a medley of songs that he was in that year. And so he had both versions of I Need a Girl, where he had Usher come out there dancing.
I remember this.
Oh my gosh. So then the last thing that they do is they have Busta Rhymes come up from the floor and then they do this song and then Diddy brings out these like jumping people and Pharrell comes out. It's like absolutely bananas. One of the best performances that I've ever seen, period, but let alone like on that stage at an award show. It was crazy.
I think I found the link. So if this is the right thing, I'm gonna make Vaughn put it in the show notes.
But that's a big record. It's a very big record. All right. What'd you leave off? You mentioned something. You mentioned Grimy. What else did you leave
I
off?
mentioned Grimy. What else did I leave off? I left off Nothing because Nothing again is a quintessential song. I think I almost put Finito on there.
Finito is my shit.
Just those three. Like I said, I can't remember. I'm gonna figure out the name of this song. That's 2017. And not only am I going to figure out the name of the song, I'm going to play a little bit of it because I really had some hope for this song. But it's not a,
Come on, Uno Mas.
Uno Mas, thank you. Yeah. Uno Mas. And like, what's funny about it is it kind of does blend in some of the stuff that NORE was doing earlier in his career with like blending hip hop and Latin music. You want to know something? It's not as bad as I'm making it out to be.
It's a cool song. It's got a remix that has like Wiz Khalifa on it.
It got like a tropical beat. Y'all can look that up on your own time.
So we were talking a little bit before we started recording, and you know, I said that I overestimated how many collaborations there were with Busta and the Neptunes. There's not as many in comparison to NORE. I think there's maybe like a total of maybe let's say 8 or 9, and I just played 5 of them. So you know, I think probably my favorite one that's out there that I didn't play was from the It Ain't Safe No More album called Ambulance. Crazy energy. Rampage from Flip Mode Squad is on that song, but it's a crazy Busta Rhymes, call the ambulance and pick up your people. Like that's what the energy of that album is, kind of sort of, which is cool. That song fit a lot. He's got a couple other ones that like he's got Twerk It with Nicki Minaj.
Twerk It, love that song.
Yeah, I like it. I'm not a huge Nicki Minaj fan, but I like the song because it's the Neptunes and it's Busta. You know, that's another example of him, like we're talking about with NORE, going back to his roots. Like that's got that Jamaican feel. He basically raps all his verses with this kind of Jamaican forced accent on there, which is cool.
Yeah, a little patois blend.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah, I think we gotta. I don't know how many more of these we can do, just because I think we can only do one per season, unless there's one that's really good that comes up in our minds between the end of the year. But fans out there, if you think there's another battle that we should do, let us know.
I got an idea. I won't spoil it on the podcast this week, but I'll let you know.
We can talk about it offline, like we're in a meeting at work.
Come on, Zoom.
Right, we are recording this, so yeah, it does feel kind of workish. All right, folks, appreciate y'all listening. Hope this was fun for you guys revisiting, some of these dope songs from Busta and NORE, and you learned some stuff about the history of these songs and these guys' career. Like, subscribe. Like I said earlier, we are on the big boy platforms now. So, make sure to subscribe and save us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify Podcasts, but also keep it locked to SoundCloud if that's your jam. But yeah, appreciate y'all. And we will catch you next Neptune Sunday. Peace and love.
I will take Vaughn's finishing line. Peace and love. I did not.
Peace and love. That's the movement forever. All right, guys. Talk to you later.